And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Tuesday, October 18th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company. Our guest host today, Larry Tomlinson.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a little bit chilly out there today, but out on my side of town, MJ's about 30 degrees. So put the coats on the kids this morning as they go out to catch a bus, or you take them to the car line or whatever you do. And just remind everybody to be sure watching for the boys and girls this morning to make their way to school, and everybody be safe out there. And looks like it's going to be a pretty day, but it is cool this morning. And we're here this morning with Tracy Pope and Dr. Megan Dupree from Vanderbilt Wilson Hospital. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, Larry.
It's good to see both of you all.
Good morning, Larry.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what's going on down at Vanderbilt Wilson.
Oh, it is just exciting at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. We were purchased by Vanderbilt 3 years ago, and they have invested over $42 million in our hospital, our service lines, our infrastructure. So, it's wonderful to be a Wilson County resident, just the services and healthcare that Vanderbilt is bringing close to home.
Well, Vanderbilt Wilson has a special place in my heart because Pam worked there for 33 years.
I know.
As the HR director for a lot of that time. And so it's been awfully good to our family for a long time. And we're certainly glad to see that all come about with Vanderbilt Wilson.
I know. Lots of people do not realize that we were the first hospital that Vanderbilt ever purchased. Mm-hmm. They have lots of joint ventures with healthcare entities, but we were the first hospital, and it's been wonderful. I've worked at the hospital for 7 years, and we've been Vanderbilt for 3 now, and it's just been so exciting to see the changes and the services that are coming just right here in Wilson County.
I got to ask a question about the trauma center. Are we level 3 now? Is that what it is?
We are. So we have Dr. Andrew Hopper, which is our medical director of our trauma center here at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. We have been working on our level diagnosis for over a year, and we are a level 3. And we are in a provisional status, which means we are a provisional level 3 trauma center for a year. And after 1 year, the state will come back and review what we have been doing for a year. And then we will be in a full service level 3 trauma center, which is very exciting. It's the first time the hospital has ever had any kind of designation like that.
Yeah. Well, I know we'll get in here. We'll talk to Dr. Megan in just a few minutes here, but I guess it's an exciting time for your family too, with the Ole Miss Rebels doing good, So
well, as you sit there with all UT orange on, yes, it is very exciting. Our daughter went to Ole Miss, and our son is there now, so we have been Rebels for about 7 years, and it's been an exciting season. We've been fortunate to go down to a couple of games, and it's very exciting when your football team is doing well.
Yeah, well, they are doing well, and there's no doubt about that. And a lot of Tennessee fans don't like Lane Kiffin, but I mean, you got to give the guy credit. He knows how to win football games.
When Lane first came to the Grove, to Oxford, Mississippi, being from Tennessee, I had some reservations, but it's really fun to be on his team. I'm here to tell you, he's an entertainer. He's a good football coach, and it's a fun ride.
It is, yeah.
Well, before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that we are having a blood drive at the hospital this Thursday, October the 20th. From 12 to 5 p.m., we will have the Blood Assurance Bloodmobile on the front lawn of the hospital. So you can go to bloodassurance.org and make your appointment. Or sometimes you can just walk up. So if you're driving by, feel free to stop by and see if you can donate blood. If you can't on that day, I'm sure they'll make you an appointment for a month later. We have a blood drive once or twice a month. So we'd love for you all to come out.
All right. We ready to talk to Dr. Megan?
Yes, so our guest today is Dr. Megan Dupuy. She is with the Vanderbilt Department of Medical Oncology. And when our hospital first became Vanderbilt, one of the first services that we worked on was bringing the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center of Wilson County here to our hospital. So we're excited to hear from Dr. Dupuy.
Dr. Megan, I'm going to refer to you as Dr. Megan.
I tell my patients to always call me Dr. D in clinic.
We talked just a little bit a minute ago about Dr. Megan M.D. So how about that? How about that this morning? But welcome to Coleman and Company, and here, and glad to have you in our community. And
Thank you.
tell us a little bit about yourself and all that.
Sure. Well, I'm just delighted to be here this morning and delighted to be working here at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital and the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center. A little bit about me. Gosh, I am originally from upstate New York. I grew up outside of Albany, but I did all of my college training and then medical school and my PhD were all done in Buffalo, New York. So it's very funny listening to y'all claim college teams, but the University at Buffalo does not have a prominent football team. So I am a passionate Bills fan. So we do NFL in the Northeast, of course. And so I'm a Buffalo Bills fan at heart. And that's where I met my husband. I was in Buffalo when I was an undergrad and he was in graduate school. And I spent 12 years there. So that's where I did my medical training and my PhD. And then we decided it was too cold. You know, I remember standing on the roof of the Cancer Center in Buffalo, New York, in my last year there, and I was able to watch a snowstorm come across Lake Erie, and then it blanketed Buffalo in 5 feet of snow in a day. And I went home and I said to my husband, I think I'm done. I think we're done.
Yeah.
So after that, we ended up leaving Buffalo, and that was the start of my medical training journey outside of New York.
You know, that part of the country kind of reminds me of here. We have friends that live up on Lake George.
Oh yeah, I grew up near Lake George. Yeah,
Yes, and we go up there to see them about every year or two, and been there in the wintertime, so I know how cold it gets, and been there in the summer, and I know how beautiful Lake George is, but yeah, it does. It's a lot like this area here. That's for the terrain, you know, and everything.
It is. You know, I think when we moved back to Tennessee, so we took some detours through North Carolina and through Houston, Texas, and now I've ended up in Tennessee. When we moved to Tennessee, that felt the most similar to me to upstate New York. The seasons, the beauty, the waterfalls, the hiking, all of that feels very much like upstate New York where I grew up. Yeah, just a little warmer, which is nice.
Well, we're glad to have you in our community, and it's good to know where you grew up and where you trained at and everything. And the Buffalo Bills, they are a good football team.
Finally, we feel it's our season this year.
Yeah. So you got to Vanderbilt, but just sort of just like by happenstance, or?
Yeah, so I did my internal medicine training at Duke in North Carolina, and then left Duke to go to MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas, and that's where I did my fellowship training. And fellowship is the time where you figure out what you're passionate about. So fellowship is where you go from being an internal medicine doctor to training specifically in a subspecialty, and mine is hematology and oncology. So cancer and blood disorders. And during fellowship, you get to sort out what's important to you and what you want your job to look like. And when I was in fellowship, one of the lucky opportunities that we had was to not just work at MD Anderson Cancer Center, which is a world-renowned cancer center, but my continuity clinic was in the community hospital up the street. It was the county hospital that took care of residents where they lived. These are not your patients flying in from Europe and all over the world to come get cancer care. It was people who lived right in Houston, Texas, who needed care, and they needed good care, right? Everybody deserves to have excellent data-driven healthcare. And I was really passionate about taking care of people in the community that they lived in. And so when I was looking for a job, one of the things that was very important to me was being able to take care of people in the community that they live in. And so when I was applying, I applied very broadly. You know, my husband and I were open to moving wherever the opportunities took us. One of the places I applied to was Vanderbilt. I had interviewed here for fellowship and had really liked Nashville. I'd liked Tennessee. I'd liked the community. It just wasn't the right fit at the right time for my husband and I. And so I boomeranged back around and was lucky enough to interview with Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center. And I had expressed this desire. I wanted to be an educator, and so that was one piece of it. And then the other piece of it was I want to take care of sort of the breadth of hematology and oncology in the communities that people live in. And I was lucky enough that, as Tracy mentioned, Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center was just opening their clinic out here in Wilson County when that happened. So when I was applying and they said, we think we have the perfect job for you. Have you ever heard of Lebanon, Tennessee? And I said, nope, but I'm interested. Tell me more. And that's how I ended up out here.
Wow.
Well, that's a good story. And you mentioned your husband already 2 or 3 times. What does he do?
Yeah, he works for Nashville State Community College. He's the director for institutional research there. He's also very passionate about taking care of folks in the community they live in. And so he's worked for a number of institutions throughout the years. And he really wanted to come back to the community college family because he feels like that's where he can make the biggest difference. And so that's what he does.
Well, we're getting up close to a time for a traffic break. And MJ, I'm going to send it back to you, and we'll get back with Dr. Megan Dupree in just a minute.
Excellent. Thanks, Larry. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Bates Ford, that regular oil change, $34.95. Bates Ford, 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. In Rutherford County, they were wrapping up a car fire, 24 eastbound, just up from 840 Elmaville Road. We're still looking at this crash over here. They're moving the damaged vehicles right now on 24 westbound at Haywood Lane. It's crazy slow now on 24 westbound between Bell Road and Haywood Lane. That's really aggravating all that traffic that's trying to get in right now from Rutherford County. Ober-Gatlinburg Restaurant and Lounge celebrating Oktoberfest. Check out all the fun details at obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
Don't miss the Monster Bash, Tuesday evening the 25th, to benefit the Bridge House. Come in costume or not. Either way, adults only will enjoy live music by Sweet and Three. Dance along to a performance of Thriller by a professional team. Eat, drink, and bid on some fabulous auction items held at the Tomlinson Event Center in Lebanon. And all for the Bridge House, leading youth out of homelessness and empowering them to live a life that will change a life. Tickets and more info at thebridgehouse.tn.org. It's the Monster Bash.
Fall is here. Shop Springs Creamery invites you to their fall festivities on the farm. Grab some fresh ice cream and enjoy the corn maze, shell corn pit, dummy roping, and the corn cannon, happening September 16th through October 30th. For more info, visit shopspringscreamery.com. For fresh ice cream, fall festivities, and fun for the whole family, make plans to visit Shop Springs Creamery 4 miles off I-40 towards Watertown, September 16th through October 30th. Happy fall, y'all!
Local elections matter. That's why Phil Moorhead is running for Lebanon City Council, Ward 6. Neighbors and friends speak up for Phil. Phil's dedication to service makes Lebanon a wonderful place to call home. As the CASA Board President-elect, Phil offers his time, talents, and expertise to improve the lives of children and families in our community. Vote Phil Moorhead, Lebanon City Council, Ward 6. Paid for by Phil Moorhead for Council, Mac McCluskey, Treasurer.
Good morning. Once again, Larry Tomlinson sitting in for Coleman today, who is, he's probably on some kind of special assignment, I would say. That's a good way to put that. So, hope he's doing well and having a good time and enjoying his time off. Once again, we're on here for Vanderbilt Wilson Hospital this morning. I have Tracy Poe with me and Dr. Megan Dupree. And we just got through talking with Megan a little bit about where she's from and some of her training. And now, Tracy, let's sort of get into what going on down there with Sarah Cannon.
With the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center. Yeah, so we just want to know a little bit from Dr. Dupuy. What does a medical oncologist do?
Sure. So as all of these listeners out here probably already know, cancer care does not happen in a vacuum. Everybody in a cancer team has a role to play. And my role is to give what are called systemic therapies. So that is drugs, treatments that go through the IV or by mouth, and they go everywhere that blood goes in the body. And so the idea is that could be something like chemotherapy, that could be immune therapies, which people I'm sure are seeing on TV advertised. That could be targeted therapies, which can be pill-based therapies or infusions or antibodies. We've got a whole bunch of really incredible advances that have happened in the last maybe 10 to 20 years that have revolutionized medical oncology. But my job is to meet patients, help them to understand their diagnosis, help them to understand how we can treat their diagnosis, and be a part of their team. And the part that I do is what we call systemic therapies, like I mentioned. And we work with surgeons and radiation oncologists and pathologists. Those are the docs that look at your stuff under the microscope to give you a diagnosis. Radiologists who look at your scans to tell you where the cancer might be. And we all work as a team. And so my role in that team is to help shepherd patients through that diagnosis, through their treatment, to help them understand their scans and their labs, and to give them treatments that go everywhere that blood goes.
You know, Dr. Megan, I don't imagine that there's anyone that's listening out there to us this morning that hasn't been touched by cancer, their family, or a family member or a close friend that hasn't had to deal with this. And it just amazes me that of all the advancements that has been made over the years in my lifetime, you know, it used to be whenever you heard that, it was just like, well, okay, you know, it's time. But now, you know, you all have got it to where that it's very treatable. People can survive. We see and hear more than all the time about survivors. It's just really amazing the work that you all have been able to do.
I am blessed and lucky to have entered the field of oncology when I did. I'm a young physician. I've been at Vanderbilt under 2 years, and the timing from when I started my training way back in 2007 as a medical student through my PhD and then residency and fellowship, the field of cancer care has really just shifted very, very dramatically. And so, Larry, what you're saying about how we've been able to shift a lot of prognoses from very, very serious or even life-threatening events to something that, not to trivialize or minimize, but something that people can live with. What I tell patients in the clinic is, as best as we can, the goal is to make this diagnosis a passenger in your life and not a driver. That we want you to, I think everybody wants two things, Larry. I think they want to live as long as possible, and I think they want to live as well as possible. And we are trying as best we can to make that first thing be as long as it possibly can. Even if we don't have control over that, though, we have fantastic treatments that can keep people's quality of life as good as it can possibly be for as long as it can. And to me, that's an equally important goal.
Well, you know, I'm glad you said that, and we sort of segue into this, but Dr. Robert Bone here in Lebanon is a cancer survivor and very instrumental, and one of the founders of Vanderbilt Wilson Hospital. Used to be UMC. But someone that I think would really love to meet you, and he has an interesting story to tell, and he has certainly been able to survive and live a productive life since he was diagnosed with it years ago.
Yeah, and you know, I think there are so many survivors out there walking around that you looking at them would never know the things that they've been through, and that is really our goal, is to create as many survivors as possible, right? That is really truly what it's about, is to achieve those two goals, to get people as long as they live as long as they can, but also as well as they can.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. That's your goal, and that's everybody that's in this business's goal, is to get people to have a long, productive, healthy life, and regardless of what kind of hand's been dealt to them.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct, Larry. Yeah.
So what are you excited about now with your work?
Oh, that is, gosh, how much time do we have?
Well, we got some time. Yeah.
So there are a couple of things that I'm really excited about, specifically on the Wilson County front. what I'm really excited about is what I've alluded to earlier in the conversation, which is that I'm very passionate about being able to bring high quality, data-driven cancer care to people in the community in which they live. You know, as somebody who reverse commutes from Nashville out here to Wilson County, I understand that the drive in and of itself can be a challenge. And certainly I don't drive with the rush hour traffic. And so I recognize that folks who are coming from Lebanon or Cookeville or other places, it can be a real challenge to get all the way into downtown Nashville. And so one of the things that I think we're really lucky and blessed to do out here is to bring the same drugs, the same treatments, the same team mentality out here to give comprehensive cancer care in the community in which people live. We've recently brought on a surgical oncologist. We have OBGYN oncology, so gynecologic oncology out here. We have myself, and I have a number of other medical oncology colleagues I work with, Dr. Walid Khalaf, Dr. Sunitha Amara. We have Sarah Murowski, who's a phenomenal physician assistant. We have Dr. David Cooper, who was just brought on, who is a radiation oncologist who's out here 5 days a week. And what that means, and you know, patients who, until you have cancer, or have a loved one with cancer, I don't think folks really understand how much of your life in the beginning really is about those doctor's visits and about getting labs and about coming to your scans and your appointments. To be able to do all of that in a single clinic where you can park on the flat pavement and walk 20 feet and you're inside that clinic door and you're right there. The infusion center is right there, labs are right there, scans are done on site almost entirely. So to be able to do all of that in one location and deliver that kind of high quality care, I think is really a blessing for the community, but also for me as an oncologist to have all of my partners in crime, so to speak, right there where I can turn to my colleague in radiation oncology and say, hey, what do you think about this? You know, and this is a patient that we know and we share and that we've both been able to take care of together rather than having to call and figure out if somebody's in clinic and wait for them to get back to you. It makes delivery of care very seamless, and it's a very lucky thing. So that's what I'm excited about.
It is a team thing.
It is a team thing.
And that's what's so exciting about Vanderbilt. It's not like they just brought one physician out here to kind of start a process and then send them to another location and just really disrupt their lives. I mean, the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center at Wilson County is the same designated comprehensive cancer center that you have when you go downtown. So we're very fortunate, and like Dr. Dupuy said, we are just expanding every day and bringing additional services, additional physicians here to our county.
Tracy, I'm glad you said it, and Dr. Megan sort of hit on this just a few minutes ago, but talked about people from the surrounding area coming into here. We're seeing a lot more of that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. You know, we're on the eastern portion of Davidson County, and before Vanderbilt purchased our hospital, I mean, lots of people that were coming from our eastern counties would have to bypass our hospital because we did not have the services that they needed. But we are just adding more and more, like you said, our trauma center, our interventional cardiology, all the services with the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, and that is just scraping the surface of what Vanderbilt has brought to Wilson County.
Well, I guess we could say then that Dr. Megan and her colleagues over there and everybody else at Vanderbilt Wilson is now a destination point for people looking for quality health care or specialized health care.
Absolutely. And, you know, I feel like I could talk about it all day long, but when I have new physicians that are coming to our hospital and maybe doing interviews, we tour around the hospital. And when we go in our intensive care unit, the same physicians that are in our intensive care unit are treating the patients at the downtown campus in their ICUs. And I just think that that's incredible. You know, we obviously cannot see the higher acuity patients that downtown can see, but we have the same specialized care. We have the same physicians that are giving the care when you go downtown, which is a nationally recognized academic institution, and we have the same level of care here in Wilson County.
Dr. Megan, we have a couple of more minutes. Want to give you an opportunity to close out any way you want to. Just tell us what, and before you do that, though, welcome to our community, and thank you. And it's I wish that everybody could see your smiling face, and you can just feel the passion for what you do.
This is a
bless
lucky
you.
job. It is a lucky job for me to have been in, and it's a blessing every day to meet people here in this community. I think that I'm biased, but I happen to think I have the best patients in the whole world. And I think what's really lucky is that when I get to take care of patients here in Wilson County, I have a whole team at downtown Vanderbilt that's backing me. So I take care of everything, anemias and colon cancers and low platelets and easy bruising and lung cancer, right? It's the whole gamut of things across the spectrum. And what's lucky for me is because I take care of a little bit of everything, I have access to the folks downtown where, let's say you come in to see me with a colon cancer, I'm going to present your case to the colon cancer tumor board downtown, which means that the folks who only take care of colon cancer are going to weigh in on that case to make sure that everything that I do out here is the same thing that they would do downtown on the main campus. And to be honest, like I said, medicine is a team approach. Nobody's a lone wolf anymore. We all work as a team to make sure we're giving the right care. And honestly, there's no ego about it. I want to just give the best care that I can give to patients right here in Wilson County. And I'm very lucky to have the backing of some of the smartest people in the world downtown at the main campus to make sure that everything that I'm doing is in line with what they would do downtown. And it's a really great way to make sure that we are giving high quality care here.
Dr. Megan Dupree with Vanderbilt Wilson Oncology Center. Glad to have you here and welcome to our community. Tracy, blood drive on October 20th.
Yes, sir. This Thursday, 12 to 5, bloodassurance.org to make your appointment, and they will have a blood mobile on the front campus of our hospital.
First half of Coleman and Company has been brought to you by Vanderbilt Wilson Hospital. So if you have a need, they're there to serve you. Dr. Megan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Larry.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Larry.
And let's go ahead and see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by our friends at Absolute Kubota Performance. High power, they've got high horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractor rated #1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's been pretty busy out here, and it still is slow as they work several accidents. I'm looking at one right now on 40 westbound at Central Pike in the Hermitage area. One car is turned around sideways. Boy, is this aggravating all that traffic now coming in from Wilson County on 40 westbound over here at Central Pike in Hermitage. Still very slow from some earlier wrecks. 24 westbound coming out of Rutherford County, trying to get up through the Hickory Hollow area. We're looking at all this live right now. Hey, Ober-Gatlinburg Restaurant and Lounge celebrating Oktoberfest. Check it out at obergatlinburg.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome to Hearthside Senior Living, Lebanon's unique senior living community designed for seniors to age in place, all within a safe, comfortable, and Christian environment. Beautiful retirement homes designed for an independent lifestyle with maintenance-free living. Hearthside Senior Living also continues the excellent tradition of assisted living for those seniors who need additional services. Hearthside Senior Living, an independent retirement community and assisted living community, all on one campus in the heart of Lebanon. Call 615-443-1994 for a tour.
Good morning, Lebanon. This is Camille Burdine, Lebanon City Council person for Ward 3, asking for your support for re-election. Over the past 4 years, I have stayed true to what you have asked me to do. Expand our parks and recreations for our youth and families, bring in livable wage jobs, upgrading and expanding our infrastructure, sidewalks and roads, and bring in more retail and restaurants. I'm asking to please get out and vote this week. Camille Burdine, your positive voice and your choice for Ward 3.
Paid for by the committee to re-elect Camille Burdine. See Tracy Parks Treasurer.
Contact Stephen Lowry Land Clearing for all your land clearing needs. Whether it's clearing trails for ATVs, reclaiming pasture, or clearing your land of brush and trees, Stephen Lowry can get the job done. He works closely with customers, adjusting to make changes as you want. Steve Lowry will give you quality work at a price that you could afford. He will also beat any written estimate. Call Stephen Lowry at 615-970-8154 for all your land clearing needs. That's Stephen Lowry Land Clearing, 615-970-8154.
Hi, everybody. Tommy Bryan. Join me, along with Harry Stafford, Bob Lee, and Joe Gardner, as we bring you Lebanon High School football. Brought to you by Bates Ford, Bakes and Hooker, K. Maynard Insurance, Lebanon Police Chief Mike Justice, Wilson County Sheriff Robert Bryan, Kenny Salas, Sports World, and Wilson Bank and Trust. Lebanon travels to take on Gallatin Friday, October 21, pregame at 6:30, WANT and WCOR.
We are waking up to some frosty temperatures out there. A freeze warning remains in effect until 9 o'clock this morning as we climb out of the 30s. Look for clouds and a high of just 52 today, and another freeze overnight with a low of 29. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. That's a look at your forecast. I'm number one Ned.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Coleman and Company. Larry Tomlinson sitting in for Coleman today and getting ready to start the second half of our show. And got Sean Dozier with me today, Hearthside Senior Living, Retirement and Assisted Living Community at 215 Castle Heights Avenue right here in Lebanon, Tennessee. And Sean is the Executive Director. And good morning, Sean.
Good morning.
What's going on
Larry?
Up on the hill?
Well, you talking about Tennessee Hill? Or
Well, Mike Jenny and I, we'll all talk about that here in a minute, but right now I'm talking about your place.
Well,
yeah.
I just want to say Coleman.
Yeah.
Coleman would be, I don't know what he would be today if he saw this orange in his studio, but
yeah,
it's full of orange in here.
We're gonna have to make some pictures, MJ, so we'll have a moment, with I know Tracy and them made one there a while ago as they were leaving, but
Well, I saw that picture of you on Facebook, and I'm glad after 15 years you got to.
After 15 years, and I'm not a smoker, but we did have the cigars the other night. Yeah, we sure did. Yeah. Well, what's going on over at?
Well, before we get started, I want to before I forget, I want to mention we're having a community yard sale at Hearthside at the Independent Living on Friday and Saturday, starting at 8 o'clock. Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning. It'll be in the clubhouse in the Independent Living neighborhood, and it's 215 Castle Heights Avenue North. And we'll have, there's a lot of stuff down there. The ladies have really fixed the clubhouse up nice for the community garage sale, and folks have brought stuff out, antiques, Steinway piano, a lot of antiques, and so. I'm not a garage sale expert, Larry, but if you are into garage sales, Hearthside Senior Living, Friday morning, 8 o'clock at the clubhouse. There's going to be just a lot of things for sale. And then we'll also have it on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and it'll go until whenever we get rid of it all. But that happens every year, Larry, because we raise money for our activities department, and then we also raise money for some remodeling that we're doing at the clubhouse. So we're having that big garage sale this Friday and Saturday, so I want to encourage everybody to come out and see us Friday and Saturday.
Well, if people are into yard sales, we want to certainly encourage them to come by. And I know you're starting at 8, but I would imagine you'll have people there a lot earlier.
We will, and those ladies will be down there early. So I'm sure if you get there by 7:30 or so, they'll be glad to bring you on.
Yeah, boy.
But everything's going well, Larry. I mentioned maybe last week we were full, and we do have one room available now just because of a transition to a skilled facility. But we're staying pretty much full in our assisted living now. We're of course full in our independent living, and I just want to continue to brag on our staff who, it's a 24/7 operation. We never shut down. We're always taking care of those folks, and a lot of local folks who have been in this community for a long time who have given a lot of service to Lebanon, Wilson County, and now we're able to take care of them, and it's an honor to do that. And our staff has done a tremendous job, and they're continuing to do a tremendous job, and I want to just thank them for all that they're doing every single day to take care of the residents. Long-term staff, staffing is an issue everywhere now. You go to restaurants, you go anywhere now, and those folks have stuck with us through a lot and are continuing to stick with us, and I just can't brag on them enough.
Well, your staff, whatever you're doing, the people that you have working for you they're the backbone of what you do. You know, if you got good staff, you're blessed. And
we do. We have a lot of long-term employees, and you know, Crystal has been in our kitchen for over 20 years, and I think Kim Edwards, and I think of Cindy Huffines, our director of nursing. Betty Kelly's been there over 10 years. So just a lot of long-term staff, and that makes a difference in it makes a difference anywhere, but it makes a difference in an assisted living community where you have to really, they're like family, you know, you get to know their needs. And if you have people in and out all the time, it's difficult to know your residents. So they know our residents, they take care of our residents. And I just wanted to brag on them this morning.
well, Sean, I must say I was up there, been a while back, visiting a friend that's there, and spent some time with him and sat there in his room, and he had it all decorated up and had a nice TV in there, and we talked football, and he's an Ole Miss Rebel fan, and but it's we never know when we're going to need something like that, and it's just good to know that we've got a place here in town that we can provide that kind of service.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And that reminds me, you know, if you know someone in assisted living, you know, and you haven't been by to see them in a while, maybe during the pandemic you kind of got out of the habit. It'd be a good time to go back and visit those people. You know, you think, well, I'm going to disturb them, or this is not a good time. It's always a good time to visit somebody in assisted living. Their eyes light up, their spirit is uplifted when you visit somebody in a nursing home or an assisted living. So if you think, you know, you're driving by one day on Castle Heights Avenue North, you say, I need to stop in there and see so-and-so. Don't put it off. Go see them. It really does make a difference.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk
Well,
about?
I'll just end with my heart said hello. I saw your picture, and it reminded me that Jeff Lassiter stopped in my office last week to sell me some tickets to his fundraiser coming up this Thursday night for the Fellowship House. So I wanted to give a big old Hearthside hello and go Vols and whatever else he does to Jeff Lassiter. Isn't he a card? I don't even know how to describe Jeff Lassiter.
Well, I don't.
Every time I'm around him, he tells me a great story. He's always probably it's made up. I don't know. It's probably made up.
Well, a lot of the stories that Jeff tells, we couldn't talk about here on the air this morning, but Jeff and I spent a lot of time together, and Jeff is a unique individual within himself, and he has a good story to tell.
Well, he's been selling me those trinkets for a long time, and he's just a great guy.
But we did enjoy he and Mayor Bell and my nephew and I were all at the football together on Saturday night, and it was a good time. And
well, I'll let y'all talk about it, but I hope we don't give it up to UT Martin, and then Kentucky's coming up, so we got to be ready for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Y'all have a great week, and good to see you, Mike. And
all right,
see you later.
Sean, thanks for being here. Appreciate everything you do in our community. Yes, sir. What about it, Mayor?
Everything's lovely, LT.
It is, isn't it? It's a great day to be alive.
It is.
Tennessee Vols.
That's right.
Yeah, it sure is.
Every day is, but the Saturday and Sunday were a little greater.
Yeah, it was. I know you had a county commission meeting last night, but we'll talk about that here a little bit later on. But that game was something, wasn't it, Mike?
It was. It was.
I was telling Rick and Jeff and my nephew and everybody that was around that could hear, you'll never see a college football game with two quarterbacks as good as the two that we saw Saturday afternoon and Saturday night on the same field at the same time.
That's right.
I sincerely believe that. I mean, I really do. Bryce Young is exceptional.
He's the real deal.
And our guy, Hendon Hooker, is awfully good too.
He is.
But it was a good ball game. I mean, it really was, and the atmosphere and I know, Mike, you're just like me. You've been going for a long time, and I don't know that I've ever heard it any louder.
You know, it's hard to say when you can't put them side by side and listen to them, but it was every bit as loud, if not louder, than any I've ever been to.
I think I saw somewhere it was 121.8 on the decibel meter.
Yeah, I didn't see that. They said they showed it up there, but I was watching the field probably.
But I do know loud, and it was awfully good, for the Florida game too.
It was, and I had people texting me saying, "Is it louder?" And probably it was a little bit, but you reach a point where it's so loud that it's hard to distinguish between. So both of them were great atmospheres and great games. So that and
Well,
Saturday,
I noticed last night Mayor Hutto informed everybody that if they had wanted to catch up on the game, to just tune in this morning to Coleman and Company, and you and I would be rehashing the game. So I feel good about that. So we won't.
I heard him say that, and I think that came from the guest host yesterday, who encouraged him to talk about the county commission meeting, because he said you and I probably wouldn't be able to talk about it. We'd talk football. So.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about football.
Oh, yeah,
and, talk about all things orange.
Oh, absolutely.
But you did have a meeting last night?
We had a good meeting, and Larry, I was thinking driving in, we've had 2 meetings in September and October that were about as good as meetings as you could have for your new commissioners to get to work into the system and see how it works. I thought, we just had 2 meetings that we've had zoning changes, we've had resolutions, we've had reports, everything that they kind of needed to see. They didn't have, I guess what I'm saying is they didn't have to start off with anything controversial.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
Well, that is nice. Anytime that you can have a meeting that's not controversial.
Yeah.
This day and time.
Absolutely.
Is always good. And I did notice there was quite a bit of talk about a noise ordinance, and I know we visited that one time before, but we're getting on close to a break here, so we'll get back into that in a minute. But I'm gonna go ahead and kick it back to MJ, and MJ, give us a traffic update.
I'll do it. Thanks, Larry. And let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. $49.95 up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal. Tire rotation, safety check too. 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. They finally moved all the damaged vehicles, but the damage is done out here on 40 westbound, just past Stewart's Ferry Pike. In this area here between Central Pike and Stewart's Ferry Pike, it's aggravating all that traffic coming in from Wilson County as we check it out live here on 40 westbound. Hopefully here in the next few minutes, it should start to move a little bit better, but there's a lot of rubbernecking going on right now as they drive past this wreck on 40 westbound at Stewart's Ferry Pike. Keep that in mind now, coming in from Lebanon, Wilson County. Still heavy out here on 24 from an earlier problem up through the Hickory Hollow area. A bit of a delay there. Let's say about a 30, 45-minute delay on 24 westbound as you come in from Rutherford County. Hey, for customized Tennessee t-shirts, hats, shoes, check out RockyTopTNShirts.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The refreshing cool after coming in from a hot summer day. The perfect temperature to kick off your shoes and relax with a good book. When the weather heats up, a new Rheem AC system will surround your family in total comfort. Are you feeling it? Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Fresh off a bye week, the Titans are back at Nissan Stadium to host the Indianapolis Colts. Our coverage begins with Titans Countdown at 11 a.m. Then a kickoff at noon. Mike Keith and Dave McGinnis call every snap this Sunday.
Brought to you by Fakes and Hooker, Bates Ford, Steve Mall Plumbing, The Jewelers, and the City of Lebanon Gas and Tennessee 811. Call before you dig.
This is Wilson County's home for real country music and the Tennessee Titans. Real Country 98.9.
4 years ago, we elected an unlikely man as governor, Bill Lee, a businessman and farmer, not a politician. He felt he could make our lives better, and he has. Bill Lee has maintained a steady hand. He's exactly the type of governor we need for 4 more years. Governor?
There's a phrase, as the family goes, so goes the nation. Maria and I sure believe that. We've made investing in children and families, moms, a top priority, putting millions into women's health care, expanding TennCare benefits dramatically for new moms, and making Tennessee a better state for foster and adoptive families. Your family, my family, we're just getting started.
Paid for by Bill Lee for Tennessee, Fred DeCosimo, Treasurer.
Cumberland University football is back in action this Saturday, October 22nd, as the Phoenix hosts Lindsey Wilson at Noakes Lassiter Field. This is Christian Capozzi of the Cumberland Sports Network inviting you to join Bob Lee and myself this Saturday. Pre-game coverage begins at 5:30, leading up to a 6 o'clock kickoff, right here on WANT and WCOR. The Lindsey Wilson Blue Raiders meet the Cumberland Phoenix this Saturday at 6 o'clock here on WANT and WCOR.
At Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, world-class care is a heartbeat away. In fact, we offer the same world-class attention Middle Tennessee has come to rely on from a Vanderbilt Health hospital. Supported by over 200 specialties, an expanded emergency department staffed with Vanderbilt Health physicians 24/7, and greater investments in life-saving technologies and care. It's just one more way we're making healthcare personal.
Good morning and welcome back to Coleman and Company, the second half of our show. Our guest this morning is Mike Jennings, County Attorney, Mayor of Watertown, wears all kind of hats, and school board attorney, and Mike does a lot in this community that people probably don't even know about. But we're here today to talk about a little bit about the Big Orange, and we're going to talk about the county commission meeting that was held last night. And before we went to break, Mike, I asked you about the noise ordinance, and there was quite a bit of discussion about that last night.
There was, and it wasn't even on the agenda. The law enforcement committee began the process a couple of weeks ago to re-look at whether or not we can put a noise ordinance in place. And the challenge there, Larry, as I see it, is you've got to develop something that you can interpret pretty easily. And if you make a decision to charge somebody for violating it, you got to be able to prove it. You can't just go in and say it was loud. Well, every time somebody hunts or whatever, there's a loud noise. You got to be able to. And so that's the challenge, and we're working on that. I've given them a draft that we prepared about a year ago. Very, very long, too complicated. I know it is, but I threw everything in there so they could weed out what they don't want, and we've started that process. And I think you'll see something come out probably next 2 or 3 months on that. Noise during the winter is not quite as bad as it is in the spring and summer, so I suspect they'll try to put something in between now and then.
Well, Mike, growing like we are, it's probably time to look for something like that. And because everybody, when they're in their home, deserves to be able to be there and not be bothered by noise or outside interference, or if you want to call it, or whatever you want to call it. So probably something other that y'all need to look at. I know it won't be easy. I'm sure it would probably put a burden on the sheriff's office or to have to enforce it and whatever, but the time, y'all probably moving in the right direction.
Well, I think we are, Larry, and we talked a little bit about it at the committee meeting. When you put one in place, there'll be certain people that'll be cognizant of it and say, hey, we got to be careful we don't violate this. There'll be others that'll challenge you on it and say, well, let's see what they can do with their noise ordinance. So it's got to be, I won't say airtight, but it's got to be solid, what we do.
Yeah. Well, it's the second meeting for how many new commissioners?
What did
8,
we
10?
say? Eight, I believe.
Okay.
I believe a third of our commission is new.
Okay.
And good. We had a good meeting last night. About an hour and 20 minutes, had 18 resolutions. Heard some reports last night that we hear, you'll recall from when you were a county commissioner, that we hear some every month, but some once a quarter. And a couple of things that I thought people might be interested in is Steve Murphy last night, the road superintendent, said that they had paved this year, the paving season, 27.187 miles. Would have liked to have done a little more, I think he said, but they're having some trouble getting some things they needed. And then Jeff Luttrell, of course, something you're very familiar with, being on the Board of Education, said we're up 780 students over this period of time a year ago. You and I know that's a school.
That's a school, and Mr. Luttrell and I have talked about this, and of course, we need 2 elementary schools right now, Mike. You know
Yeah,
that.
yes, sir.
You're sitting on all of our meetings and hear the discussion going on, and we're not far out from having to have another high school.
That's right.
And so it's time that that we decide which direction we're going to go in and where we're going to go with it. And because if we don't, I hate to say this, but the time's going to come where we're looking at going back to portables.
Yeah, and may not be too far off, but
No.
it's something that Larry, I'm sure people out there, maybe some people realize, some don't, but it is the larger this county gets in population, we're not getting any larger in physical area, of course, the harder it gets to site a school to find a good location. And if you find the perfect location, a developer may come in there, they're willing to pay more money to put 300 homes in there than we are to build a school. We're having to pay, as you know, some pretty pricey prices for land, but it's getting tougher and tougher to find a place for a school.
Yeah. Well, and that's why that we're continually looking for places. And,
Yeah.
A lot of people, when we go out and say we're looking at buying something, people say, well, you don't need to be in the real estate business. Well, we're not in the real estate business. We're in the business of providing education and building schools, and we got to have somewhere to build them.
Yep.
I mean,
And Larry,
there can be a lot worse things in your community than a school.
Sure. And Larry, from being in it, when we start looking for a school, most of the time we need it right now. So then you're probably a year away from purchasing something and 2 years away from getting it open.
Yeah.
And you're behind the 8 ball already.
I think Mr. Luttrell has done a good job in trying to meet that need, and so he sees the importance of that and trying to have something in place of when we do get ready to build. And right now, Mike, we try to use the same floor plans for most every building we're building, and that's so you got that already in place more or less. But
he did say something else last night, Larry, and you probably already know this, but your listeners don't, I suspect. If we can get into Stoner Creek by Thanksgiving, be 3 months ahead of schedule of what they said. So
that's our. Well, we had hoped to be there by fall break,
right?
And there were some things that come in that didn't get here in time. But I think Thanksgiving may be a pretty good date.
And
what I hear, what I see.
And 3 months ahead of time for a contractor when they're fighting, as you say, getting the proper not equipment but materials they need. That speaks well for them as well.
Yeah, we had some big electrical plant panels that were holding us up.
Yeah,
and finally got those in, and I think they're getting those installed. So but I don't know whether Jeff mentioned this last night. I know he talked to the commissioners about the enrollment, but we're right at 20,000 kids
yes.
now.
Yeah.
I think it's right. We may be a little bit over 20. I'm not sure, but we're somewhere right around 20,000 students.
Right.
And education is and you got some folks out there that want to talk about how much money school system spends, but Mike, it's a big business.
It is. You got to educate children,
and it takes up the biggest part of our budget. But that's part of it. What else y'all do up there last night?
We did a little bit of everything, Larry. We did a few line item transfers. We did a few small appropriations. Entered into approved some contracts where the state's going to do some road widening in front of West Elementary and also on South Mount Juliet Road. Talked a little bit last night from several commissioners about roads in their area that needed needed upgrading, and Mayor told them, said, the state says we'll spend so much money in your county, and you make the determination of what needs. So there's several on the drawing board to come along, and that's part of growth too. Everything we do, as you know, is tied to growth.
It's all driven by growth.
Yeah,
it is, and a lot of people, Mike, don't realize what with the growth comes a lot of other things with it.
It does.
But we've been fortunate and we've been blessed here that our tax base has been sustainable.
It has.
And so we're very fortunate that our sales tax, our property tax, they do a great job of collecting that, and to thank the people that's paying property taxes. You know, they come in, they're paying their taxes, and they're doing it on a timely manner, and it all works together. It's all part of one big thing. And but I getting back to that football game, and I was telling Mayor Bell this Saturday, I don't know if there was another county in the state of Tennessee that had all their mayors in Neyland Stadium. We had Mayor Hutto, we had Mayor Manis from Mount Juliet, Mayor Jennings from Watertown, and Mayor Hutto from Wilson County. We had all of our county mayors was represented.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. There's a lot of people in Wilson County up there.
Oh, boy.
And I'm sure a lot of them were down on the field. I stayed in my seat, as you said you did, because that ain't no place for me to be.
Well, you know, Mike, there's probably people that are saying they was there that they wasn't even there.
They will be, yeah.
Yeah, they was there.
And I saw a comment on Facebook, too, that there may very well be a baby boom in the state of Tennessee in 9 months.
Yes, and God bless the labor and delivery nurses 9 months from now. Yeah. Hey, we thank y'all for tuning in to the WANT 98.9, and thanks Susie and MJ and Billy for everything they do to keep this radio station going and providing a service to our community. And thank y'all for tuning in to Coleman and Company, and we will see you later on.